let's get going. So today we got a lot of work done on her last week. Today we're going to start to focus on the base. We'll work on the base a little bit. As you can kind of see, all I've really done with it is primed it, and then I sprayed it with like this kind of dark purple gray in order to just like lay like a general base tone down. Painting rocks happens to be one of my favorite things to paint. I find painting stonework to be, you can be pretty free and loose with it. I'm going to just grab a bunch of colors here that are kind of in the color palette that we've been working with. We're going to need some kind of turquoise. All right. That we need something purple. Don't want magenta, we want an actual purple tone. And then we're going to need some like dark grays and things to build up. Hi, Rob. Welcome to the stream. Okay, so we're going to get some different tones here. We'll grab some light, like bluish color. And we're going to need, that's magenta. Where's my actual purple? It's also magenta. I feel like I'm blind. My desk is a mess. I need to clean it up. That's okay. Here we got purple here. Thanks. So yeah, lots of just different kind of tonality for this, and then we're going to need something a little warm, slightly yellow, something like a kind of yellow ochre tone, like almost goldish. Doesn't really, the exact color isn't important. All right, so one of the reasons I really enjoy painting rocks and stuff is because you can be pretty loose with like inventing your own texture, especially if they're sculpted in a way where you don't have like, they're pretty smooth here. Hi, Steve. So yeah, they're pretty smooth. So we're gonna get to like kind of make up the texture that we want. So we want this like dark turquoisey gray, and then for a black we want to mix a little purple into it so we get a tone similar to what we have. Right, we can use that as a glaze. And as we build up the light, we kind of get it color a little more like this. Right, we don't want too much of that teal, and if we need to add more blue, we can. But so we're trying to stick pretty close. Right. It's actually quite dark of a scene. So we're going to start with something kind of in here and just start to build up texture. So the way I kind of think about it is like, this might be pretty subtle, but let me jump up in tone a little bit so you guys can see it better. But instead of just like painting, you know, directly on the surface, just like doing big brush strokes, I'm kind of gonna like jump around, right? So I'm just gonna I'm like, it's not stippling, like I'm not like doing dots, but the motion is sort of the same, where I kind of just like, I'm sort of like pressing, you know, like a tattoo gun, like, and as I do that, and I just draw all these kind of shapes, the various pressure on the brush, as I push down, it kind of like pulses, right? And I can create really interesting shapes and patterns in the rock. So the goal is to create all this underlying texture that we can then, so you can see like that, right? The brush work is not perfectly even. So as we continue to do this, we create little variation in the stonework. Okay. So just moving the brush around, leaving some of the dark tone underneath. And just building the layers as we go. Now I do want to enhance certain parts where there is sculpted texture to the base. So things like cracks and stuff, I do want to try and pick those out. But for right now, I'm just kind of moving around, being sort of random. Just covering the surface. So it's like I'm painting the volumes, but I'm leaving gaps in between. In some areas I want more, some areas I want less. You see, it looks quite sloppy, but if you keep it kind of subtle and build up the texture as you go, right? Like subtle in terms of like difference in value. Create all this little nuance inside the texture. Hello. How's everyone doing? How's the week been going? We might be painting the heads tonight. We'll see how the rocks go. Okay. So sometimes I might get like a really big brush stroke that cover a lot, right? So you have to think that the stone is cut by hand, right? Chiseled away and eroded. So the surface is going to be really irregular. So some areas you might have a more smooth surface, and in some areas you might have even more texture. Just play with it. The worst thing you can do is be like too consistent, right? It's very easy to go like back and forth. Right, if I need to come back in and create some more darker patches, I can do that. This is for a collector. This is for Mindwork and a collector. So up here, right, you can build. Just keep the brush moving. Don't try and be perfect, right? The brushwork is intentional but random. So there is going to be more light focused here on the center. And we'll introduce like with either glazing with this or with the airbrush later. I can introduce like filters to bring it back down. Right now, what I'm really interested in is just the texture, right? And as I move up, like we're still in really dark tones. Okay, this isn't really like trying to paint the lights. This is just trying to create variation in the rocks. As I move up in the light, then I'll start to focus more on the areas that I want to have pop out, like more cracks and edges. Okay, so sometimes the brushwork is really small. Right. Sometimes it's a little heavier. All of it contributes to creating a very uneven surface. And it's just super fun. And it's so easy to get like caught up in being ultra precise with everything, which we will get more precise. But you know, my take is that there are things that we want. You hear like, oh, you got to paint smooth all the time, smooth, 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 right? Ugh. The world isn't smooth, so what I'm not interested in is being smooth. What I'm interested in is being rendered, right? So right now we're being really rough. And then as we build up the layers, right, we'll introduce more precision as we build up layers. Right now it's just laying we're laying the foundation. No, we're not going for marble. We're going for like a hand cut stone, right? So the sculpt is like ultra smooth. You can see how just like flat the surfaces are, right? What I want to do is I want to give these like where areas of the rock has flaked off and stuff, or they've been chiseled away, you know. I mean, clearly someone didn't originally build the wall like this. Parapet or whatever. Yeah, like could I paint this like perfectly smooth and like ultra clean gradients? And yeah, it'd be really easy. Like I could do it with an airbrush and some edge highlighting really fast, but it wouldn't have any character, and it would probably look like plastic because that's what it is. So this is a and as we work, we're going to build up. We'll introduce more color through filters and more subtle variation. Something like this. Maybe the rock stands out a little more in certain spots. So you get this slight overhang. Hi, Mark. How are you? Mark, do you love painting rock as much as I do? See, it's the best. One of my favorite materials. So Just always keep the brush moving, right? If you keep your hand moving, you don't have time to let your brain overthink it, right? So small strokes, big strokes. Use the whole brush. Don't just, right, like this. You'll never paint the rock texture doing this, right? This is what we don't want. We don't want to do like these little marks, right? That's not it, right? Like press the brush into the surface. Use the whole brush, right? It's not a pencil. Don't try and use it like a pencil. Okay, sometimes we use the tip if we want to create smaller fractures, and then other times we use the side to create much larger surfaces, right? So we can create trying to create all these little micro volumes within the surface of the rock. Yeah, it is challenging, Mark, to be intentionally random, right? The brain struggles with that. So I think if you move fast, right? Move fast, and you don't have time to overthink it. Okay. We can be very intentional later when we go to do all these little cracks and marks and edge highlights that really start to define some of these larger volumes. Hi, Jonas. Also, when you'll see when we move on to the next layer, as we begin to move up in the light or create, another layer of texture as we work with thinner mixtures, that it allows some of that previous layer to show through, and we begin to layer up the transparency of the paint in order to create even more depth to the textures. Right. Also, don't do this with a brand new brush. Right? This is not brand new brush work. This is old, worn brush work. This will beat up a brush pretty fast. Hi, Leb White, how you doing? Right, so, you know, I didn't hit every single surface. That's okay, because let's see, we can double check. We can just come back in and find some of these smaller ones, like here, right? Just hit these areas real fast. Okay. Oh, and like here, maybe I feel like it's a little too regular. See, Eric, the problem I always have with how you are painting right now is to gauge how much of the previous layer to leave visible. In the end, I always end up with too stark a contrast that looks comical because of it. Any hints on how to avoid that? When you're doing something like this, if it seems too stark, and I actually made it maybe a little more stark than it's pretty subtle, like right now. If it seems too stark, go a little closer. We're not trying to introduce too much value differentiation right now, because we're not trying to paint the volumes, right? We're trying to paint just the texture. Like subtle differences in the rock. Right? If you look at a piece of cork, for example, right? You can see there's a ton of texture in here. And you can even see the differences in like the cork, right? But it's not like yeah, there's maybe like one or two spots that are extremely dark, but the differentiation in value is not that much. Right? Like if you blur it, right, it would be all pretty much the same tone. So if it's if it's too stark and too contrasted at the beginning, like you can always glaze back over top of it to unify it, and then work your way back. I need something a little more blue. We're going to grab the turquoise that we used before. Here. Just to get a little closer to that bluish tone. Okay, and then here, so I'll create another mixture that's just a lighter than that one, right? And now I'm going to come back in, and now I'm going to start, like, it's still, you want it to be pretty thin here, right? This paint is not like super thick. You can see on my thumb that it's a little transparent. Right, this way when we start to do more texture on top, that it'll show some of the, not only will it show some of the layer underneath as we move the brush around and kind of like scrape at the work we've already done, it'll move that pigment around. So certain areas will be a little more dense in pigment, some areas a little less. Right? And we can begin to create all this extra texture work. So you can see at the beginning the brush was pretty, the brush strokes were a little big. Now I can kind of shrink it a little bit, and like this looks very stark, but as it starts to dry, it's going to darken down a little bit closer to the previous value. I can take the brush kind of on its side, sort of push like that, and create like a little gradient in the pig, or in the surface. What kind of brush? It's just a size 4 from Artist Opus, just around. It's an older one. Right, so I use a mix of the side of the brush and the point. To create all these little surface details. Yes, this is for the witch. This is her base. You see, doing something like that, I just skip the brush along the surface, the side of the brush along the surface. And I can come back in and draw smaller lines. Hello. Right, so just like that, like this is, you know, this is a completely, basically flat surface. And we begin to introduce all this little subtle texture. Gives it some shape, right? Because it is like that, right? It's like this one. Am I ready for contrast? No, I'm not ready. I need to finish this model and one other. She's not too far along. I gotta paint with some other work on her, some of the work on the back and some of the non-metallic jewelry. I was considering painting the non-metallic jewelry on stream tonight, but I don't think it's super interesting. You guys have seen me do non-metallics, and they're very small details. I think this rock work is a little more interesting. Right, so you see how the paint's a little It's not a glaze, right? I'm not at a glaze yet, but the paint is a bit thin. So you see as I push it around, the paint where I lift the brush, and that's why I'm constantly like kind of picking up the brush. It leaves a little more paint where I pick it up, and then I can kind of move it around. It's fun. Any questions? Questions, comments, doubts? Anybody attend MPO this weekend? Have a good time. What do I think of it? I think it's really good. I think the skin is fantastic. I think the use of color is really good. I think the like subtlety of the leather, like the use of contrast between the darker leathers and the skin and metallics is really smart. And in general, I think it's a really nice figure. I like Anna's sculpting. Kartashova Anne? Is it Anna or Anne? I can't remember. I'm going to assume it's Anna. But she does, I believe she's Polish. Does a lot of work for Neko and the New Kingdoms. But she's done a few others. She sculpted Shiv, which we've painted on this channel. What other? well, we've painted two of her sculpts actually, because we painted the bust from Tebow, which is also sculpted by her. All right, let's kind of just do this section so I don't have to just sit here and paint the same section of rock over and over again. All right, so now that I've kind of built up some preliminary texture, right? Now I can come in, now I can start to like come in and take different tones and mix like subtle browns and things and glazes. So when I say a glaze, like I mean in the true sense of a glaze, where I can create like a filter, right? It's not, I'm not trying to blend here. And I create a very thin mix, and then I can come in and just add some color variation. Because rocks aren't all the same color typically either. Right. So I just want to introduce some color nuance. Not so much, you know. We are going for a very desaturated palette overall, like for this scene. So I don't want to go crazy. Who's that? Nacho Gonzalez is rated. Hello, hello. Welcome. Okay, we're gonna mix a nice dark, like purpley black here. How are you? What were you doing? Hola, ¿qué tal? Hola, Patricia. Hola, Bortes. Gracias por el follow. I don't know how you guys say follow. I'm assuming it's probably just follow. Kushiel? Hello? Yeah, we're just painting, welcome to the stream. We're painting the Brom, I think the name is Witch Lair. I think the original painting might be called Witch Wood. I'm not sure what the correct name is for the painting or the figure. I think the figure is Witch Lair though. I'll show you where she's at. Give me just a second. But right now we're just doing some the base a little bit, painting some rock, creating some texture. You can see just how kind of smooth the sculpting is of the rocks, and we're trying to introduce some more variation. see, this is kind of where, whoop, well, I need to zoom out. This is kind of where she's at. Still have to paint the back and do little details, like all her jewelry, finish her hands and stuff, but I can put her on the base real quick so you can kind of see, right? So this is why we're working with all these like subtle teal colors. Teals, purples, trying to stay within this color range. Art is very much like this. She's like, it's like very from below. Yeah. So, having fun with her. Just using successive color filters to try and push the contrast here a little bit more. Now we can like, now you notice that I'm kind of like pushing these black in like a glaze, trying to create some of the rounded volume to the middle of the rocks, right? The center for like the main angle is kind of like right here. Right, so this is our like main viewing angle. So we want, as it goes around the side, we either want to push more black, or even as it goes around the side, we can introduce some lighter blues and things to create that atmospheric perspective. But I think just kind of going darker on the side might work a little better. What were you working on, Nacho? Que estuve pensando. ¿Estuves o estabas? I never know with that one. I really... Estabas, okay. Why? ¿Por qué? I went to bed. I struggle with the past tense. All right, so now that we've kind of like got the glaze, you can start to see that we unify a little bit, start to create some shape. And now I can start to introduce some more light and focus a little more on the edges. Right, big to small, guys. Big brush strokes, big movements. And then as we begin to work in detail, right, we're becoming more rendered now, right? My movement and my brush strokes are going to get a lot smaller and more precise. Okay, more intentional. And then these little, some of these areas where it looks like I've created new volumes, right? So there looks like there's a little crack right here. I can further enhance that shape. It's not actually sculpted, but we're sculpting with the paint. See, you can always check out the always check out the YouTube VODs. Hi, Sean. All right, so even on the edge, we can start like a little irregular with the brush strokes on the edge, which creates a little bit of irregularity to that edge. So all these little changes start to create depth to the surface. The only actual sculpted detail on this is this crack right here, right? There's one more over here. But other than that, like you can see when I turn it in the light, that it's completely smooth. And for me, this is why rocks are one of my favorite things to paint. Because it doesn't take much time and you can get a really nice effect without, an insane amount of effort. And we can kind of overdo some parts. We can like over render some areas. Okay, something like this. And then we just come back with our dark neutral color. And we just create a filter. And, it ties some of this detail together. All right, we can further push some shadows where we want. Cool, makes sense. Easy. Don't have to worry about that much about blending. It's just, you know, create a nice and aesthetic looking pattern. Well, not pattern, but, you know, texture. Eric, your MS at SMC got sold out so quickly I could find a spot the next day. Hope you guys will have a good time there without I'm sorry. I'm sorry it's sold out. How many focal points are too many? I mean, that depends on the model. You typically want to have one main focal point and then like secondary ones. And if you're talking about composition, a lot of, like, you know, at that point you're talking a lot about the sculpt too, like not just the figure, right? So like on her, what are the main focal points? Right? The main focal point is clearly the face, and then your secondary focal point is the head, or is the hands, right? So on her, like when I go to do these faces on the base, I don't want them to draw nearly the same attention as her face. So they're going to have to be darker overall than her face, right? So yeah, you typically have one, and like I said, it depends on the figure. On a bust, you have one main focal point, or you have pretty much only one focal point. On full figures, maybe you have, you know, 3, 4. But there's typically always one main focal point. And yeah, it just depends on how complex the piece is. Like a character riding a dinosaur, like you're going to have some more, or like a diorama that has multiple characters, you might want to share the two characters in terms of focus. So you have two main focal points, and you have to figure out a way to balance the two. The Dutch Grim Squeaker, thanks for following. So a lot of it comes down to the figure, the scene, the story you're trying to convey. And it's not always the face on the figure. You could do a figure with their back turned to the audience, I guess, in this case, the viewer. It's a raging demon, not an MDK, but yes, exactly like that. So, yeah, there's a lot of, yeah, but like if you were doing Akuma, right? Say you were doing that figure, right? Of him, you know, doing the like back pose where he's like, after he just did the Raging Demon, which I think would be a cool figure, actually. The point of focus would be the center of his back. And you'd probably have a secondary focal point of, like, if you did the, like, character he defeated on the ground, their face would probably be, like, the second focal point. But you'd want to have him be the main area of focus. I'm assuming you guys know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about Akuma. Street Fighter. Am I dropping frames? I don't know. I'm not getting a warning. Weird. Well, I don't think there's really anything I can do about it. Sorry. I guess if the sound is okay, that's, yeah. I don't know. Luckily, the YouTube video is recorded on a separate device. Morning. So you can see now we're starting to, well, it's a little slightly satin, so you're seeing some reflection, but as we create more texture, I can begin to introduce some more rendering. Because what is texture, guys? Guys and gals. What are my thoughts on MPO? Not sure if they've posted winners up in a gallery yet, but keen to check it out when they do. Seemed like they started out a pretty good way. Yeah, I mean, I've spoken to Andy and Albert about it. They seem to think it ran pretty well. I've heard nothing but positives. In terms of the winners, the only one I know of is Arnaus. So I don't know any other, like, who got gold and who got silver and bronze and everything. So I can't speak to that, but it seems like it went pretty well, so good for them. Happy to hear that the show went well, and hopefully the next one will be even better and have higher attendance. I wish them the best. They're solid chaps. They're good blokes. Couple of proper lads. Huh? Oh, what was that? What's the answer? What is texture? Yeah, I was looking for the chat to answer it. Nobody answered. No, I mean, texture can be visual interest, but it's not like literally what is it? Like, what is it physically? Why do things have texture? Yeah, I mean, irregularities in the surface, yes, correct. But if you didn't have light, would you see texture? You could feel it, but would you see it, right? So the only reason you really see texture is because you're light and shadow. Shadows, right? So irregularities in the surface that create small shadows and create the texture that you see. So without the light and shadows, you don't really have much texture. So do we want the areas of shadow, right? Areas that are in shadow, should they have as much texture as the areas that are in light? Brom, in this case, yes, you could say that like the veins in a marble could be, yes, could be a texture. in which case you're having two different materials like in a material, right? Like freckles could be a texture also. But typically when we think of texture, I'm talking about like stuff like this, right? The ridges on this bottle cap. Right? You can see them here. What happens to it on the side, right? Are they patterns? They're not really. Well, in marble, it's not really a pattern. It's because it's patterns are like regular. Can you have an irregular pattern? That doesn't make sense. Right? Like, see the ridges where there's like less light and the light doesn't hit, you lose the texture, right? It goes away. But it's clearly there as I rotate it, right? So you have less visible texture in areas of shadow. You guys are getting real nerdy on semantics over here. The whole point I'm trying to get across, right, is that your texture can be more rendered in areas of light. Har, har, har. Hi, Richard. I'm good. How are you? A griddle? A griddle grill? Like one that goes on top of your grill? Or like, I don't know what other kind of, like one for like, is it a gas one or is it one that like a flat top that goes like on your normal grill? I'm interested in this grill and the logistics of said grill. Okay, it's a propane grill. Because I know they make like attachments for like Weber's and Big Green Eggs and stuff so that you can have different grilling surfaces. Yeah, I'm not clicking on that right now. Hi, Nerdy B. How are you? How are you? Dude, there's nothing better than a good griddle when you're like out, especially if you go out camping, you know, you get a nice little griddle so you can make some pancakes in the morning. Camping pancakes are the best. Griddle cakes for those of you who are, you know, would prefer to say it that way. All right. A couple bit more definition. Really, the goal here is we're just trying to create some definition on these rocks. I'm gonna have to come back in probably and really darken some things down. I really want some like nice, very dark elements to this. I mean, just if we're going by the style of Brom, like we need to have some blacks, like true blacks. The man likes his blacks. So we can introduce some really like deep cracks to the surface, right? We can kind of pull out these veins a little bit, create little divots in the surface. No, I'm always 100% done when I'm decide that I'm 100% done. The difference is I do, that's fine all the time. I do it on box arts. I do it on competition pieces. I do it on figures. I do my tabletop figures. It's just a different level of, that's fine. It's just knowing where to put in the effort. Put in the effort on the areas that matter, and I maybe put in a little less on the areas that don't, right? I can't paint everything to like, there's no such thing as painting everything to perfection. If I tried to paint everything to perfection, I'd never get anything done. I also find sometimes that figures that you paint to perfection might not always be the most interesting to look at. Will this piece be in competition? No, don't think so. I mean, it'll be at a competition. I'm going to bring it to contrast, but I'm not entering contrast. So anyways, yeah, everybody has a different level of done Are you judging a contrast? Yes, I am. I am indeed. I am also Nova's representative for contrast. They are now our sister show in Poland. No, like the Capital palette. You guys know that the charity and Nova, the convention, are two separate entities now, right? All right, let's check the lighting. See how we think. Where'd she go? Oh, there she is. Hello. So she lit from below. Yeah, she has like a subtle blue. It's like, it's not really lit. Like the main light source is clearly from the top, right? Top right. But she has like a bluish glow coming from the bottom. So like this light kind of cuts off. And then she has like this like kind of turquoisey glow underneath. Hello. Navs. Navs. Yeah, I wouldn't call it like a strong light source from underneath. It's more like just a subtle glow. We actually have to tone some of this down, which would probably be easier with the airbrush, but I'll show you how you can do it with the brush. And if I want to push the light a little more in certain areas, I can do the same with a little filter, right? So I just take and glaze a little filter towards the center. Right? I don't want to adjust the texture. I like the texture. I just want to push the light just a little bit more in the middle. Yeah, and then I gotta go around and do all the other stuff. So I'm trying to stick pretty close to the artwork. If you look up Brom Witchwood, it should be the first result in Google Images. So we're doing a bit of a master study. All right, I'm gonna go smoke real quick, take a quick break, grab another drink, and I will be back in just a few minutes. I have to walk back downstairs. Not happening. All right. Let's grab, I want like a deep tone. I'm gonna grab some smoke. Not a smoke, the paint. It's like a nice deep sepia color. And on these upper rocks here, as you can see, this is like a nice dark brownish color. As we move up the rocks a little bit, I want to just introduce some more color variation. It's subtle, but it makes a difference. All of these little touches are just to further enhance the irregularity of the rock, right? Yeah. Yeah. We want a little more towards the top so we get that nice bluish effect from below. We don't want to overdo the contrast here. But we can create a little bit of that lower light. It's going well, Mo. How are you doing? Right, so all of these little touches add to the effect. Okay, go a little purple. highlighted, wait, what? The top of the crack rather than the bottom? Oh, you mean like I highlighted this? Because the light's coming from underneath. I would say I highlighted the bottom of the crack. But yes, I understand what you're saying. Because the blue light's coming from the bottom. And we're going to look at it like this, right? This is one that, like, you really want, the figure should be viewed if we're going by the artwork. The figure really, you don't want to really view the, let me zoom out. This is not the best way to view the figure. Really, the best way to view the figure is like this. Like this low angle of her where she's like, you're looking up at her. She has a bit more sinister, dangerous nature to her, right? When you look up at a figure, it tends to be a little more powerful, authoritative. I don't know what. And then looking down at a figure could be a little like softer, kinder kind of touch. All those little thoughts and details add to the nature of how we view a figure. So if you're ever thinking about like, how should I photograph my figure? If you want a more powerful looking character, you can angle the camera kind of low. And get a more imposing kind of character. Little things to think about. I'm relatively new to the hobby and just getting to the point where I'm thinking of buying my first non-synthetic brushes. Do you have a favorite? There you go. Yeah, backdrops are interesting because that can be a difficult thing to achieve when you have a horizon on your backdrop. No, I'm not going to say number 3 is actually my favorite size, but I'm painting something big right now, so I'm using a number 4. I mean, I could do this with a 5 or a 6 also, but number 3 is my favorite general brush, but the Artist Opus Series S. That's my go-to. You know, if I was like this, as opposed to this. You know, you gotta get all them that nice tonal variation in there, you know? That's what's really gonna set it apart, you know, you gotta every little bit just adds more information. Because if it was just blue, like that doesn't, it's kind of boring. Last night I just realized that all my brushes are worn out and I had to dig out a $7 set of 5 brushes that my parents bought me for Christmas. A 36-0? What? Not even a side? What is that, one bristle? The heck is a 36-0? I originally, I don't know when the last time you guys bought an Artist Opus brush is, but when they first came out, I will admit I was not a fan. I think their construction and quality control is much better now. I think they're kind of on like, they would consider their like 3rd generation of brushes. But I will also be totally transparent with you. They provide me with brushes, so. But I would never use anything I wouldn't be willing to buy myself. I would rather pay for brushes than use crappy free ones. Do you get bad of any, I'm just like, any brand, you're going to get the occasional bad brush. I've had Raphael's wear out super fast and not hold a point. I've had Series 7. They've all, right? That's kind of the nature of something that's handmade. All right, so on the top here, well, even on her, the blue kind of shows up in her, on her legs. So I think it's okay if we get some blue on the base on this part. I do like the Game Envy lamp. I have one set up right there on my spare desk. There's not enough light for the stream, but it's good for when people come over and hang out to paint or whatever. My roommate comes in and paints. Who's that? Acoustic TV? I don't know. You guys have crazy names. There's too many consonants in a row. And so there's like a very subtle volume right here. We can kind of enhance that. And we can make some of our own volumes. Right? Facet these rocks a little bit. The thing I will say I like about the Game Envy lamp, which I've talked about before, but how like small it packs up. It folds up really small, like it'll fit in a backpack, which I think is pretty cool. I didn't test it. I have no reason to do that. I was just throwing the idea out there. Good morning. I was just putting it out into the universe, you know. Dude, I feel you on cleaning your painting station. I really need to do the same. Mine's a disaster at the moment. I've been so busy with workshops and trying to get some figures done. I've got this figure and another one, which I'm going to bring to contrast. It's another of the Cult of Paint Kickstarter figures. By the way, anyone at MPO, did you see the figure I did for the new Kickstarter? Apparently, it was on display at MPO. Was it? I have not seen. Yeah, man, the Deo Guard 2. I will agree that it is a sign that nothing is going on. However, it can also lower productivity, and I need to get some stuff done, so I would like to clean up a little. Is that on Cult of Paint's channel, Christian? It is an elf. Dude, it's for Deo Guard. Did you really have to ask? It's a Kickstarter by Andy Wardle. Of course it's an elf. The man loves his elves. And you know what? That's okay. We're all allowed to have a type. I feel like I've painted a lot of elves recently, and then I thought about it, and I was like, not exactly. I've painted a lot of everything recently. Elves, dwarves, goblins. Not so many humans. I guess I'm painting a human right now. If she's human. She's humanoid, at least. The hair dwarf sitting up there, you guys can't see it, but there's the last Trudvang release is painted and done, and it's sitting up there. That's going to get shown at contrast 2. I'm always paint Sebastian. Always. Do work. Do work, son. Nothing wrong with that. Just going through. You're just going through your green period right now. That's cool. I dig it. I'll put in them hours. No, that's fine. Painting every day is good. You get a little bit done every day, that's good. Keeps you in the groove, you know? That's discipline. It's the only way to improve brush skills. There is no amount of videos or classes you can take. Well, I mean, you can get some tips in classes, but really, brush skills is a thing that just comes with practice. I think people can have some bad habits when it comes to brush skills, but in general, it's just something that takes time. What was your personal biggest aha moment? in miniature painting? That's a good question. I don't know what my biggest aha moment was. I know what like I don't know. I don't know if I have like a biggest aha moment. I feel like that could be, I'm sure there is one. I feel like a lot of what we do tends to be like like anytime you're developing a skill, it tends to be like little steps, right? It's like a culmination of little steps. It's this idea that like you take little steps, little steps, little steps, little steps, little steps, and then you look back and you realize how far you've come. And that might culminate that like that looking back, you know, that leap forward or whatever of little steps might culminate in like a specific piece you do. And I'm sure everyone has those like type pieces where they make like a big jump. You guys could probably name those pieces of mine better than I could. Like where you look at my work and go like, oh man, Eric made a big improvement in his whatever on this figure, right? Like if you looked at my Space Marine faces and you were like, wow, that's crazy. He can paint 32 millimeter faces like that. Compared to, you know, the last time I painted a 32 millimeter face, it might seem like a big jump, but it's all from a bunch of skills I learned working on larger scale faces in the meantime. So if you compare it to the last 32 millimeter I did, it might seem like a big jump. But if you compare it to, you know, the recent busts I did, it might not seem like such a large jump. Second question. Do you still feel you improve after so many years in awards? Yeah, of course. I feel like I improve. I'm always trying to improve, and I think I am improving in certain aspects. Like I said, I think I improved on those Space Marines. I think I improved on freehand, on the dwarf I did. I think there's always something that I'm trying to improve on. I think my faces are better on the recent busts I've done. Like the one I did for Cult of Paint. I really like the face on that elf. And that was from, I don't have, they're all packed away. I can't grab them. But like the Chimera bust I did recently, the Tebow, the bust from Tebow, the Night Lady, yeah, like the elf bust from Daleguard, those were like all back to back, right? The fighter, right? Those were all busts I did like basically back to back, and they were all like me specifically trying to paint. Like I really wanted to improve my faces. Yeah, the Night Lady definitely helped. This is the idea of intentional practice, right? Chromac and Nemo Bus, I feel like they let you know how much you enjoyed painting comps. I mean, I do enjoy painting comp. I enjoy the pressure of a painting competition. Awards are nice and stuff, but I actually enjoy the like the deadline and the idea of like I've got to push myself. Yeah. I think I improve most on pieces. I'm experimenting and trying things, so the piece itself isn't necessarily the highest standard, but of learning it provided means. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you, like I said, that's typically why I say people have like one figure that is like the culmination of a bunch of little steps where it's all knowledge they've gained from previous work, and then it all kind of comes together on a piece. When you were going through that, did you just have a bunch of reference photos up, like painting the faces? The face painting stuff? Yeah, I did. Oh, I forgot the self-portrait I did also. That was sort of done around the same time too. So yeah, it was like 5 busts in a row of like trying to paint better faces. I mean, obviously I used reference on the I used reference on the Night Lady. I used reference on the self-portrait. I used reference on the Justin Gaethje figure. Didn't use a reference on the elf for Chimera. I did use a reference, but not really. It was more like color reference on the it was more color reference on the elf I did for Deogard. There's a lot of like looking at Native American and like Central American skin tones more than like volumes and stuff. Yeah, Dracula was fun. He was like a quick little sketchy thing though. I mean, he's not sketchy, but he is it was just like a quick exercise. Comps make me finish things. Exactly. The pressure of the deadline. Gotta get something done, you know? For me now, comps, like most of my entries in a painting competition, normally except for one, are all like just professional work I've been doing. But typically I like at the big show, you know, at Monty or something. Last year it was Scale Model Challenge because I was judging Monty, but this year it'll be Monty as like an opportunity for me to do like a personal project or like a big special piece. Yeah, as in when you're trying to improve something and do focused practice, is it really just buckling down and making sure you use reference and correct mistakes as you go, if that makes sense? It's not just focus that. It's like when you're working on it, you're trying to be more analytical, like as you're working. Like I can paint a face without thinking, right? I could just paint the face. But I'm trying to be more critical and analytical of the work I'm doing while I'm painting, so that then when I paint the next one, I can just sort of do my thing. Right? It's the same with non-metallics. I can paint non-metallic basically in my sleep. But if I want to get better at it, I have to be more analytical. It's literally like you find the thing you want to work on and you pick projects that allow you to showcase the thing you want to work on. And it's not just about study, it's about observation and yeah, being critical. Like, you ask, like, is it just fixing mistakes? Well, how do you know if you've made a mistake, right? If you're not, like, analyzing the work you're doing. Comps are very addicting. It's also very inspirational when you come back and start something afterwards. Yeah. See, but I tend to be a little bit the opposite, where like right after a competition, I tend to want to just work on something like fun, because normally like leading up to the competition is like the grind to get something finished. Now it's literally always the grind, but I'm never not on the grind. That's not true. The last time I came back from Monty, I spent like a month playing Baldur's Gate 3. So bought a 3D printer with the idea that I could just print things that would allow me to practice techniques. I've had it for a year now and haven't done that even once. You can only blame yourself, man. You just got to do it. I specifically, because I'm a huge Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 fan. I love Baldur's Gate 1 and 2. Like, favorite game, Baldur's Gate 1, favorite game all time. So I specifically avoided playing any of the pre-release stuff because I wanted to like play the full experience like all the way through. And depending on how much time I have when I get back from Manchester, from Contrast in London and Manchester, I might play some Elden Ring DLC. Foul tarnished. Smoldering in thine meager flame. Together. No, man, I'm just quoting some Elden Ring. Oh, Elden Ring. See ya. Have a good night. I don't play many video games because I know my personality. I have like I like to complete things. So I did miss a boss. I missed Placidusax in Elden Ring. Maybe I'll go back and beat him while I beat the DLC. But I tend to have like a very completionist mindset. So I tend to avoid very picky and choosy on the games that I play. And I have a strictly no like endless game policy. I won't play like a Diablo or anything like that. No Helldivers, no Diablo. No, I haven't played World of Warcraft since Cataclysm? Yeah, that's the last time I played Cataclysm, which is getting ready to come out in Classic. So that tells you the last time I played that game. How old is Cataclysm at this point? It's got to be like 15, 20 years, 15 years, maybe? I'd say it's like 15 years old. Pretty much when I started miniature painting is when I stopped playing WoW. Look, I know how old I am, okay? I'm aware of my age. You telling me how old that game is not gonna ruin my sense of mortality or anything. I'm aware. The one that 14. That's almost close. The one that did make me laugh was my sister sent me a video about a guy like buying Vice City. I don't remember the name of the channel. They do like short comedy skits, and he's talking about Vice City, and Vice City, the setting of Vice City. The game's release is closer to the 1980s setting of Vice City than it is to current day. Hi, Scott. I've heard of Gothic. Yeah, I got you guys on that one, huh? What demon? That one's pretty funny. Shots is old enough for shots. Shot, 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 shot. We just started the base. I've only painted her once a week. So I only stream on Wednesdays, but here's where she's at. And then we've started the base. See how she's looking. Scree! Yeah, I paid that figure too long. We're gonna have to put this on the hot tubs channel, you know what I'm saying? Has anybody been watching Marco paint this figure? How is he done? I don't know how much he, how many times a week does he stream? We're painting the same figure, and he has a very different take on it than I do. I mean, my take on it is just Brom's take on it, but he's going with a much more colorful approach. Good night, Wendy. I hate when you miss like one angle when priming. See? You see where I didn't get down in there? Shame. Nope, I do not. Never painted a figure before. This is my first one. I'm going to post it on Reddit. This is my first figure I've ever painted. What do you guys think? Rick FS. Well, thanks, R.S. Blunden. Glad you enjoy the book. Thanks for buying it. Thanks for the support. Appreciate you. By the way, reminded me, if you liked my book, the Kickstarter for the next set is currently live, of Roman Lafont, Joshua Lai, and Sam Lins. You should go check it out. Yeah, this is my first figure based on artwork by Brom. I don't even know if that's true. I think it is. And I have to really, I'm pretty sure this is my first Brom figure. That's not even true. I can't even say that, Sebastian. I was working on a different figure this morning. That would be a lie. It was not a scout. You know what? I'm going to show you guys. Here's a sneak peek. Don't tell Andy Wardle I showed you this. I'm going to try and keep it. It's literally going to show you nothing about the figure. And I'm going to show it in like a little over a week. So I was working on basing this. This is the base it comes with. And then I was doing all this stuff. Don't tell Andy. So, ta-da! All right, that's your sneak peek of the other Neo Guard model I got to paint. They are, in fact, 3D printed. They are from Epic Basing and printed by one, I don't know, just Dave, who is, in fact, getting pretty good at 3D printing. They are Epic Basing. I don't remember the exact name of the, but it's like thorns and dead trees and some kind of mushrooms. Yeah, check out Epic Basing. They make nice stuff. And if you prefer, I don't know what the heat rating of whatever kind of resin Dave uses, you can, in fact, like put it in the oven. So I actually prefer Sculpey over Milliput. One, it's cheaper, and I can like dry it. I can bake it like really fast, so I can keep working. I don't have to like wait overnight for the Milliput to harden. I can just like do what I want and then harden it. And the if you cook this at like, I think it recommends at 275. So it says cook it at 275, but I cook mine at like 225, and it works just fine. I just do it slightly longer. And I think 275 is actually kind of high for this stuff. Yeah, I baked the resin. It was fine. Yeah, I sculpted around it and then baked the resin. It didn't do anything. I mean, resin's like exothermic and stuff anyways. I don't know if 3D printer resin is. That's a UV-based resin, but yeah, it's good. It's heat resistant enough. I mean, it can handle 200 degrees Fahrenheit just fine, or 225. Put the plinth in there and everything. It'll soften as you like work it. Yeah, no, I'm just gonna say Valentine. Hi. Thanks for following. So yeah, it was if you like Sculpey more than Milliput, one, it's cheaper than Milliput, and two, it's faster. You can toss it in the oven. You can toss it in the oven with resin bits. No problem. Now I would recommend checking before you just go trusting me on this. I would maybe test a piece first or something. But I've never had any problems. Like, I could put this in the oven and at 225 and it would be fine. Oh, Richard, I don't know if he's doing it now. Have they gone up? But Hera also has similar, they have wooden plinths too. So you might be able to check them out. They have square and round plinths. I might start ordering from them if I need, like, you know, basic sizes or something. and shipping might be a little better. Also RS Burden, I think there's, or Blunden, RS Blunden, I think there's, what is it? There's something you can use to like soften the firm putty. I don't remember what it is. Anyways, I just, you know, a little heat, like not like really warm, like, because you don't want to cook it, but like a little bit of warmth, like if you just hold it in between your hands for a while to warm it up, that'll tend to like get it to soften up a little bit too. Just sit on it like an egg before you start working. Put some of that butt putty on there. Yeah, I like Sculpt because it has like basically infinite working time until you fire it, bake it, whatever. It's not really fired like a traditional clay is like super high temps, but until you bake it, it has longer working time, and then you can kind of bake it in phases. I think that Joaquin has told me before there's like a kind of maybe limit to the number of times you should bake it because it can start to crack. I think Monster Clay is very similar, right? If anybody's used Monster Clay before. But yeah, any resin plinths like taro plinths, I know taro's plinths you can throw in the oven. They'll be fine. I've done that before. Who else? Wooden plinths tend to be all right as long as they're dried out properly. If you're like making them yourself and you use kind of moist wood, like wood that's got a bit of humidity in it, it could crack. So I'd be careful, but most plinths should be all right. Yeah, my basing skills or my sculpting skills pretty much is like rocks and very small conversion work. Not small as in size, like small as in amount. All right. Hi, Carvok. Good day, mate. How was that? Not bad? Then we'll be. I just have to start calling you Carvo. Hey, Carvo. So this guy right here. He's cactus. Need some more oomph on Carvo. Sorry, man. I was doing my best. I was trying to channel my inner Deno. 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 Need that guy to come out to another show. One day we'll finally get Dave Caldwell to come to a Monty or something. I like the Australian painting community though. You guys got a good scene going. Man, I've been asked. It is so far. Like, if I was in Europe, I would say yes. Like, sure. But from the East Coast of the United States to Australia is like as far away as you can possibly get. And man, I really don't want to fly for like 24 hours straight. It'd probably be more, honestly. Yeah, just only and on top of the price, man. It would probably. Oh no, it'd be more than $1,800. Oh, you guys are real cool and handsome. But whew. You guys gotta realize I'm 6'4". Alright? Planes are extra uncomfortable for me. And I'm all leg. Oh my god, I can't even imagine what like a business class ticket to Australia is. $10,000, something like that. Dude, business to Europe is like, yeah, business to Europe is like $6,000. So there you go, 8 to 10,000. It's crazy, dude. Flights are so expensive. Like, do you want to not be miserable? Give us $10,000. What? Dude, now we're talking. You guys want to do a painting workshop on a boat? Do it on a cruise ship? Get the Aussies on a cruise ship? I could do that. I could be into that. Now you guys are talking my language. But dude, it's funny how long I'm willing to travel by car or plane, just because, or car or train, just because I can like get out and stretch and move around. If I was on a ship, I'd be totally fine. I could be on a cruise ship for like a month. I wouldn't care because I could like, you can move around and whatever. It's the idea of like being stuck. I just hate the idea of like being stuck in a plane for 24 hours straight. All right. So, I still got work to do. Like, I still got to refine and do things, but you guys saw me kind of, you know, like more heavily detail here, more rendering. So there's a lot more of that to do. But it gives you the general sense of where the base is going. Yeah. All right. So we're going to call it there.